Hi, listener. Welcome to my podcast. I'm Sumedha, your host and your friend. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that the first episode, first story excites you and keeps you coming back. So, let's begin. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that's closest to my heart because, when I was thinking about what the first episode should be about, I knew that it had to be something to do with me because in this podcast, I'm going to open my life to you all, and I wanted to start with something very personal, and it could have been career, it could have been a lot many things, but the closest thing to my heart is my pet dog, my dearest ever, Dusty. So I thought that it would be fair to talk about how it's like having a pet and how it changes your entire life and what he has done for me. So starting with, is he my first pet? No. I have always, I grew up in a small town with a house and a lawn. So, with a lawn, the benefit is that you can always have pets. So we always had pets. And in fact, if you were to go through my childhood album, you'll see that I am sitting with my pets and just chatting away like a toddler, just sitting with the pets. I've apparently been told that you would fall asleep right when they fell asleep. That's been me, and I've had a soft corner for dogs all my life. But what happened when Dusty entered my life was that I was just finishing school and my result had come out, and I really wanted to move out of the city that I lived in. I wanted to go to Bombay, and I wanted to, start afresh and be on my own, independent. And when I did not qualify for the college that I was aiming for, it was like the end of the world. When you're 18, your life stops with every small thing that happens. And I was so disheartened, and I remember that I was very upset. And it had been about 5 years that we had moved from the small town to the city. And the city was, even though it was really nice, I was looking forward to the change. So my mother never let us get a pet in the house because in a city we lived in an apartment, and she thought it wasn't the best thing for the pet. So and if you're an Indian child, you're spoiled enough that most of your work is done and you don't take enough responsibility of household work. So my mother was obviously right about the fact that we're gonna have a pet and you might not take as much care of him. So even though her concerns were all fair, because I might not have taken as much responsibility at home on my own, but I was trying to apply to another city, so I was sure that I have it in me to take care of a little puppy for sure. So we kept having a conversation about how I was so bummed out about the fact that I couldn't get into Bombay and everything. And just to cheer me up, my mom kept telling me stories from the past, and she kept telling me cherished memories of my time with my pets and everything. And it made me even more sad because I was like, now we don't even have that, Mom. What are we doing with our life? This is the bare minimum and everything. So I don't know what happened to my mom, just seeing me sad or upset or what. For that little moment, she kind of broke down too, because she was like, you know what, we can actually think of getting one. And when she said that, you won't believe that I didn't waste a single second or a minute. I just went straight to my brother's room and I was like, Mama has agreed to get a pet and let's do this as soon as possible before she changes her mind. So we wanted to grab that window that we had of getting the pet. So that happened, and we started to search everything, and we finally got in touch with a guy, and he sent us the pictures, and it was love at first sight. I knew that was my baby, that fur ball, that cute face. I will never forget that picture. So I was sure, and we finalized it with the guy. And in fact, you won't believe that my father wasn't in town. We didn't call him because we were apprehensive that he might say no and he might convince mom and whatever. So we just kept going ahead with the plan. And then what happened is, after finalizing everything, this guy vanished. So for 2 days he just disappeared. There is no call back. I was trying his number every hour, and there was no, like, he wasn't responding, and it was getting to my nerves. And at some point I started to feel that he must have given it to somebody else or whatever. And then 2 days later, when I lost all hopes, my phone rang. And when I saw that it's the same number, I was overjoyed and jumping and also praying. I think that's the hardest I've ever prayed to God also. So I was like so happy, and I was like, when can you come the earliest? Is there a place where we can come and collect him and everything? So he said no, that basically he was ready to come and give him to us. So that's how the story went on. And when he finally arrived, and the guy gave him to me in my hands, he was as small as my palm. And trust me, my palm is very small. So I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was such a surreal moment. And my best friend was with me, and this other friend, and we like, the joy was coming from, like, it was the most unadulterated happiness that I've ever felt in my life. So my little cousin was there, but I didn't want to give it to anybody. I just wanted to hold my baby and just have him for myself. And another coincidence, so what happened is, like, I asked the guy who came to give it, like, who came, so I asked him that, how old is he, all of that. And he said he's 40 days old. So I was like, 40 days is crazy. But when I calculated, 40 days meant that this baby was born on my birthday. And like, I thought this was the biggest coincidence ever. Like, this was meant to be, is what I felt. And I still stand by that. So me and my pet share our birthday, and I even that's such a cute thing. And then anyway, then he came home, and he was introduced to the whole world, because, like, we live in a society. So if you ever lived in a society, you know that if some new pet or a baby or anything, like anything new that happens, almost the whole of your sector will know about it. And people were coming to see him. Little kids would ring the bell and be like, can we see the puppy, everyone wanted to play with the puppy. But he was such a lazy little of course he was a little puppy, and he didn't have that much energy. He would be playing with you, and he would just slip and sleep off on the floor. And you would wonder, like, he just took 10 steps, how has he just fallen asleep? And that would be a repeat. And then there was a whole process of, like, if anybody has kept a pet, you should know, and you will know that having a puppy is a lot of work. So whenever somebody asks me, should we get a pet and everything, I always tell them that if you have the time, if you have all 24 hours to dedicate, if you have enough family members so that your 24 hours can be spread and he will constantly have attention, yes, go ahead. But if that's not the case, then it's going to be a very big problem. Because you can leave an adult dog at home on his own for like 4 to 5 hours, maybe more sometimes, and he'll manage. But for a puppy, for the first 2 years, like, by puppy I mean for the first 2 years, so it's not very easy. You can't, like, make your vacation plans, or you can't just decide to be out for an entire family day out or whatever. Everything has to be planned around the puppy. Like, how will you manage him, where is it like are things pet friendly. You choose to go for lunches on a picnic where your dog can have a good time too, but not just on your own to some restaurant. So it's like a lot of work. So never think that it's going to be easy. And like a small infant, like even puppies fall sick a lot. They have to get their vaccination. So it's a expensive and time consuming work to get a pet. Okay. And luckily for Dusty, me and my brother had saved up some money, and we tried to do as much as possible. Of course, our parents did the most, but in terms of taking all his responsibility, we were both very proactive about it, and we would take all sorts of responsibility, all his walks, all his everything. Even though now and somehow, even though we did all his work, he is still a mama's boy, and he's like after my dad for everything. And somehow he trusts them, because I don't know, like dogs kind of are very perceptive, so they know who's the real boss. But I mean, we did everything in our capacity to give him the best of everything. And then I slowly started to discover how motherly. There are many tales that we're going to come to about him. So for a teaser, I'll tell you that he had met with an accident, and it was one of the scariest moments of my life. So I'm coming to that story, but for that you'll have to wait and listen. So I think I was very excited, and I would take him everywhere that I would go. And one day, me and my best friend decided that we wanted to take him to this new sector, to these new parks. And we were walking, and I was aware of the fact that there are some stray dogs in that sector, but I had no clue how many of them were there and how territorial they might get. So we had gone for a very casual walk around the sector, and we encountered one dog. And then what happened? One dog started barking, and it was almost like he was trying to inform the others, because from every lane we could hear dogs barking. And then slowly we started hearing footsteps of loads of dogs coming at us. And this friend of mine who was with me, she is really scared of dogs. I mean, in fact, actually, even if you love dogs, if that was the case, if 10 dogs were coming at you to just pounce on you, you would be scared. So she was scared, she was screaming, I was screaming, and what my instincts did were just to pick up my dog. And I don't know where I got the energy and strength to do it, but I just held him in my arms while two dogs were trying to pounce on me and bite my dog, bite me, and it was like a whole thing. And it was so scary. And my friend was holding my phone, and I kept shouting, please call my mom, call my mother, you have to explain to her where we are, get her. And I hid at one place, but I could see all the dogs waiting for us to get out of that hiding spot so that they can pounce on us again. But luckily, to our safety came my mother in her car, and I literally jumped right into the car, and we fled from the scene. We all just fled. It felt like we were saving our lives. But yeah, so that was one scary incident. But that day I knew that I was ready to be harmed. I was okay with the dogs biting me, but not him. So I was holding him so dearly, and I think he also put all his faith in me. He was little, and he didn't try to fight these dogs. He might have growled later when we got in the car, but he wasn't growling when I was holding him. He could sense the fear. So yeah, that was one story. And then slowly what happened is he became a part of our life, and he started to bring joy in everyone's life. My dad started to really love spending some time with him, playing with him. My brother had his way of playing with him, and everyone kind of made they had their own routine and systems with him. And our doctor would tell us that beagles have this appetite issue, so they won't realize that they're done eating, so you'll have to take care of that. You'll have to mind how much you give him and not, because they have the tendency to get obese and stuff. So earlier we thought that, okay, like how bad can it get? But what that means is this fellow is ready to eat anything and everything under the sun. So you can give him a box of plastic and this guy will try to gulp that down too. So I mean, that's a struggle. That's still a struggle. Then this one had like separation anxiety a lot, like beagles. So whenever you get a dog, you should always research what are the kind of qualities and traits that they have. So beagles have the separation anxiety. You can work it out. You can try to train them, but they kind of always feel they want to feel like they're the part of the pack. So they don't like to be left alone and everything, right? So, I mean, he's turned 6 and it's been a beautiful, beautiful ride with him. And the most scary and the most life-turning event that had happened with him was that he had gone for a walk with my father. And, when he goes out for a walk with my dad, he doesn't usually go on his leash. He just follows my dad's and he follows my dad's orders and everything. And so on this one fine day, my dad was trying to cross the road, and so was Dusty, and he was in the middle of the road, and I don't know, he thought that Papa had stopped or something on those lines, and he just froze in the middle of a busy road, and a bus ran over him. And my dad leapt and just took him to the vet, and he knew that he was fine and things were okay. There was blood all around, but he just knew that like he's gonna be okay. There's a wound on his paw, but the rest of him is fine. Like by God's grace, it wasn't like it didn't take his life, or oh my God, I can't even say all this, like I can't imagine that ever happening. So yeah, I mean, it was an accident which hurt his left paw, and that was really, really tough. And what happened is that we were all home, and my dad had taken him straight to the vet, and he had the vet had started to operate him and everything. The surgery had begun. And my dad came home and he was sweating and he felt restless and he was panting and everything, and he entered and there was no Dusty. His leash was in his hand, and before he could even say anything, I had already started crying because I could sense that something had gone wrong. And then my dad said, "Your dog," and he hadn't even completed the sentence, and I went from crying to howling. And then my dad had to calm me down and tell me that no, he's all right. He's just there's been an accident and he's under operation. He's gonna be okay. But I couldn't stop howling. And my father asked me to come to the vet and to the clinic. And I never knew that I loved somebody so much, because when I reached the clinic, he was howling, and listening to his pain made me cry even more. And the doctor came out, the vet, and he said that, do you want to see what's happened? And I don't know why in the world would I say yes. And he took me in, and I'm not even going to get into the graphics of that. I just came out, and for the next 2 hours his surgery went on and my crying went on. And for the next 6 months we had to go every day to the vet to get his dressing done every single day. And I think that's the most I've taken care of another being, like been responsible, been like I took care of him. So I feel like with pets, what happens especially is that because you know that they can't express their pain, you have this heightened sense of, as a human being, you try to give him words and emotions and thoughts that you think they might be having, and it's a process. So I think I stopped going to college completely. I was just home, I was just looking after him, I was just making sure he doesn't rip off his bandage and all of that. But touch wood, God has been really kind. He recovered, he walks on his all fours, and slowly, because he was young, he was able to recover faster, and thank God for that. And I hope he's never in that place again, or nobody's pet is ever in that place again. But yeah, so that's the story of Dusty. There are a gazillion more tales about him, which I will get into in some upcoming podcasts, I think. So yeah, he's 6 now. He and I share our birthdays, and it's a joy having him. It has been life-changing, and I'm so grateful that my mom let me get him. And because my mother also realizes that he has definitely changed all of our lives, like not just mine, all of our lives. He has impacted each one of us, and he's the center of our universe. I mean, when we're out for vacations, or if we go out for even 2 days, like we'll be video calling so that we can see his face. We want most of his pictures. Everyone wants what's the update with him. So everything revolves around him. He's the boss of the house. He goes